Hello again, and welcome back to Casting Lots Board Gaming. I'm Nick, and today we are going to be talking about my favorite board game of all time, which is 51st State Ultimate Edition. There is the base game for this that came out a while back, and then there was a reprint, and then they did the Master Edition with a couple of extra expansions, and then they put out this Ultimate Edition, which is basically like all the stuff. The only thing that wasn't included in here was the promos, which I actually found on Board Game Geek, and when I was able to print out the Texas faction, University faction, Mississippi faction, and Hegemony faction. So, and then there was another cool little thing in there. It was the arena card where you can send your little people out to fight. But other than the promo stuff, it pretty much has everything included that's ever been out for 51st State. So this is This is my favorite board game of all time. It's it was probably within the first 4, 5, 6 games that I bought when I first started the hobby, and it's just something that I fell in love with immediately. I love the post-apocalyptic vibe, and it's an engine building game. So as you play, you're going to be gaining cards to your hand, and then those cards are going to be able to be built in your state that you're building. And as you build them, they're going to give you more opportunities to get resources and things like that. So they have a pretty cool resource pool here of your gears, your gas, guns, workers, and bricks. And then you have your tokens, which is the raising tokens, which is for attacking other players or destroying your own cards for resources. The blue tokens, which are for making deals. The gray tokens are for building. And then some various other tokens here. They have the universal token that counts as any of the 3 colors. And then they have a ammunition, which counts as any of the resources. So, there are some resources. Everything works very smoothly, though. It's nothing, nothing overly complicated. So we'll start at the top. This is going to be just a quick overview of the game. The quality, I would call it good. It's not bad. I've played a number of games with this, and I don't really see any card wear. Now, granted, there are a lot of sets in this. There's all different expansions and everything, and they stay separate in the box. So, sometimes you'll be playing with, the base cards in one expansion, and then the next time you might be playing with the base cards in a different expansion. So, your base cards are obviously going to wear down a little faster, but like I said, I've played a lot of games of this, and I haven't had any issues with card quality. The boards are fantastic. They're real thick. I mean, they're good quality, real high quality prints. It's got the male and female side depending on who you want to play as for the boards. And same thing with the scoreboard here is the same thing. It's that same thick quality material. And then on this scoreboard, you basically play till somebody gets to 25. And then after somebody gets there, I think you finish out the round, and then you total up all your points. So, so quality is good to excellent. I mean, it's up there. It's great. I would call the complexity on 51st State, I would call it medium. It's it seems like there's a lot going on once you start getting cards into your state. So you have one of 3 different areas where you'll build. So when you have your player board out, you have your production at the top. So any cards that say production on them, I don't see any, right? So this one, the Iron Gang. So if you were to build them, they would go in this top row for production. And then each round, when you start over and get your resources, you'll get whatever is stated on this production card. So as you build more of these production cards, you'll be able to gain more resources at the beginning of your round. And then you have features. Features are normally one-time use items that go out, and they give you a bonus right when you build them. This one is a building bonus of 2 victory points. So you would keep these in the middle of your row. And then you have actions. And your actions are going to give you more options on your turn to be able to do different things. And when you do those things, you'll put the resources that you used on top of the card, so that way you can keep track of what you've used that turn. This one says spend 2 of the blue tokens to gain 1 victory point. And then it says may be activated twice. So some of these cards can be activated twice on your turn, which is nice. So throughout the game, that's basically the whole thing there. Like I said, I call it complexity medium because there's a lot of stuff going on, especially in the medium to late game, in the mid to late game. In the beginning, you just got a handful of cards, and you're laying down one or two, and you don't have many resources. But as the game advances and goes on, you're going to be building more of these locations, and you're going to be able to gain a lot more resources. So you'll be able to do more on your turn for that round. Replayability, I would call it high. Like I said, I've played many rounds of this. Again, it's my favorite board game. So this is something that I have. You can play it solo. I've played it with 2 people. I've played it with 3, 4. I think I've played it all the way up to 5 or 6 people, and it is a long game when you play with 4, 5, or 6 people. The more people you add, obviously, because you have to go around, each person is going to be looking at a hand of cards and thinking, okay, what do I want to do? There might be a little bit of analysis paralysis going on, depending on who's playing. And so it does take a while when you get up to more players, but it's something that, it's still fun because on your turn, you have your cards in your hand, so you're playing. But when it's not your turn and it's someone else's turn, you're looking at your cards, figuring out, okay, what options do I have when it comes back to me? You might be figuring out what you want to play or what resources you want to gain or whatever the case is. So replayability, though, is fantastic. There are a lot of cards in this box. I mean, each one of these is a pretty hefty stack of cards. So there's a ton of replayability. And each time you play, you can play with one of the different expansions, and they all play differently. So there's lots and lots of options out of the box. I do actually mix. So there's base cards, and then they had 2 extra expansions that don't actually change any rules. They're just extra cards. And normally I play with one of those 2 on top of another expansion. So that'll give me even more options each time I play. It's very seldom do you have the same play style as you go through. And another thing to mention is each individual faction is going to have different styles. So you see some of these each round, just from the get-go, they're going to gain different resources. The merchants guilds here, they gain fuel every round, where the New York faction, they're going to gain the gears each round, and they gain, well, they have the same resources at the bottom, but different things gain different things. Appalachian Federation, they're going to gain brick each round. And then the Mutants Union, of course, is going to gain guns every round. So, they play a whole lot differently, especially when you add in the promo factions here. These gain one of these wild tokens for any color. They're going to gain one of these each round. This one gains a brick. University gains, well, actually, they gain less resources than everyone else, but it seems like they have some better trade actions down here at the bottom. And then Texas has less resources, but they get 4 workers on their turn, so they got a lot of workers going on. I always like to play with Texas, obviously. So, replayability, I would call it high. It's something that you can play over and over again, assuming post-apocalypse is your thing. I love post-apocalyptic themes, so this is something that, like, if I go and I'm watching a movie, I get done watching Mad Max, and I'm like, man, that gets me in a mood to play some 51st State. So I'll come in here and play a game. Rating, as far as the Christian rating, I would give it I'd say PG-13. There are some things that you want to be careful of. So we'll start with the cool stuff. It's got a church, so that's definitely a cool thing. I think it's good to be building churches in the post-apocalyptic wasteland. And there are multiples of those cards. So we got stuff like this that might not quite be okay with younger players. The Murderer's Pub, and some of the artwork, I don't know if you can see the artwork. Some of the artwork's a little dark. This one's like just an old back alley thing. And then we got Preacher of the New Era, which, like I said, we talked about in that previous video with gaming and faith. This is not something that I'm going to be playing this game and going, you know what, I'm going to go get a chainsaw and a flamethrower, and I'm going to go be a preacher of the new era, and I'm going to kill people, right? Nobody's going to be doing that. So, again, it's just a game. But, again, it might be a little weird with some younger players. The Preacher of the New Era. And then we got the Gasoline Cultists here. It's very Mad Max style, which is cool. That's the gasoline cultist. So, you know, there's some cards like that. There really isn't, there's nothing gory or super crazy, but, you know, I'm going to call it PG-13. So our final score, what we're going to do is we're going to give 51st State. I think a 10 is something that is like a unicorn. There's not going to be a lot of 10s going out, 10 out of 10 going out on this channel. Something has to, it's almost never going to happen. I'll tell you that right now. So 9 out of 10 is basically going to be the max that I'm going to give. It's going to take something absolutely mind-blowingly awesome to give a 10 out of 10. And so far, I haven't seen anything like that. This one's close. Again, this is my favorite game. It's close, but it's not something that I would give a perfect score to. It takes a lot for a perfect score. But yes, I love 51st State. This is one of my favorite games. It's got this really fairly easy to understand rule book here. It goes through all the different things. This is the Ultimate Edition rule book, so it's gonna, let me get to it here. It gives you a solo game rules, solitaire variants for the different factions, an achievement table, so if you can get over 80 points, 70, 60, you know, you have your achievement table here, which is cool. It's got the Borgo Automa system, which is really good. Basically what it does is on the this is for solo, and on the bot's turn, depending on what icons are listed on the card that you flip over, so you'll flip over a random card, and depending on what icons are listed there, a different action will happen according to this chart here. So it makes it very, it makes it variable because you don't know what the bot's going to do. And then it goes over each, it goes over each set here, the winter and the new era expansions. These are the ones that don't add any extra mechanics. They're just extra cards, which is cool. And then it goes over the Scavengers pack. So this one's really cool because I think this is the one that each player has their own, they have their own discard piles. So instead of a table discard pile for everyone, each person has their own personal discard pile. And there are lots of different mechanics and cards in there that'll allow you to take something from someone else's discard pile. So you might be able to use someone else's building that they acquired and take it for yourself. And then you got allies where there are these different, what are they? The Iron Gang, Shirash, and Uranopolis. So these are 3 different factions here. And you can be allied with certain ones depending on what cards you're playing, and it makes it cheaper to build certain types of locations or make deals with certain types of cards. So that's the Allies pack. You have the Moloch pack, which is really, it's very different. So this one is a machine, you know, these machines are coming out. Moloch is, I guess, the bad guy, and he's coming out. I haven't played this one a whole lot. And he's building these machines each turn, and they're doing things, they're attacking and doing things. So you can either hack these machines by paying a cost, or you can try to destroy them, I think. So once you do that, you're able, I think once you hack them, you're able to get it into your hand, and then you can actually use this card for your advantage. So that one's really good. All the rules for Moloch. And then you got No Man's Land that has these extra map cards that gives this big 9-card overview of a map area. You know, it's got like northwest and northeast and southwest and southeast, all these different locations, and you can build outposts on each location and control outposts. They'll give you various resources and things like that. So, and then it's got a rule book section here for the promos, which, like I said, some of these I actually found on Board Game Geek, and I printed them out, the arena tile here. But fantastic game. It's got a rule summary in the back. It does seem like quite a bit when you first start, but I would definitely say stick with it for a couple of games. Once you get comfortable playing this, where you're not having to look at that rule book every couple of seconds, it is something that's really fun. I mean, I've had a lot of folks play this with me, and just, you know, they're immediately saying, hey, can we play again, or can we play again next week, or whatever. So I give 51st State Ultimate Edition a 9 out of 10, and that is it for today's video. I appreciate you watching. As always, like and subscribe, please, and God bless.